What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with what's next for Justin Gaethje after UFC win. Justin Gaethje had made it clear before heading into his fight that he was interested in fighting for the lightweight title, and after winning at UFC 313, that remains a huge possibility. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Gaethje took on the ridiculously dangerous Rafael Fiziev for the second time in the co-headliner, who was stepping in on short notice. On account of both men's fighting styles, and because of how their first scrap in 2023 went, everyone predicted the rematch would be a barn burner, and indeed it was. Fiziev came out strong and scored a couple of surprise takedowns, but Gaethje started mounting more offense in round 2. Later in the frame, he sent Fiziev to the deck with a thumping uppercut, and Gaethje won more of the exchanges in the thrilling round 3. Unfortunately, this fight was not a 5-rounder, but it still delivered. After the bout, it was announced that Gaethje had recorded yet another decision win over Fiziev. So what's next for Gaethje? In recent months, Islam Makhachev has said that he's interested in fighting Gaethje, as the two have yet to fight, and it's interesting for Islam to fight someone new. But lately, there's been a lot of talk about Ilia Topuria fighting Makhachev next. Further, would the UFC tap Gaethje for a title shot, one fight removed from his jaw-dropping knockout by Max Holloway? Maybe, maybe not. Dana White seems to think that Gaethje is still in title contention because he's still ranked number 3 in the division. If the UFC boss is saying it, don't be surprised if it happens. Here's what he had to say during the UFC 313 post-fight presser.
I mean, what's he ranked right now? 4th or something, right?
3rd.
Yeah, 3rd? There you go. He's still the number 3 ranked guy in the world, so the odds of him getting a title shot are pretty good.
During the post-fight press conference, Gaethje called out Islam to a fight.
I mean, I want to fight for the belt, obviously. It's a much different matchup than I just had. He's a tough matchup for him. He's so good, so strong. You know, I have to have a perfect night if I want to beat him.
I guess for anyone that might wonder, like, why should you get the shot over Armin or Charles?
I don't care. Argue with yourself.
During the press conference, Justin also shut down a fight with Dustin Poirier, saying neither of their families deserve that. Bold statement to make. It seems clear that Justin's eyes are set to fight for the belt next. Are you interested in Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev? Joe Rogan makes a huge mistake after he mistakenly called UFC women's strawweight Yasmin Lucindo a man during UFC 313 broadcast.
Amanda Lemos is very dangerous, but this young man has tremendous potential.
What's next for Alex Pereira after UFC loss? Heading into UFC 313, the consensus was Magomed Ankalaev would be Alex Pereira's biggest test to date, and that proved to be the case. Pereira started fairly strong, as he battered the challenger's legs with kicks. But Ankalaev continued to press forward, and late in round 2, he wobbled Alex Pereira with a booming punch. Pereira tried to step up his attacks, and to his credit, he squashed multiple takedown attempts from Ankalaev. But later in the fight, Magomed controlled the action for prolonged stretches by putting his clinch game to work. It was a close fight, but after 25 minutes, it appeared that Ankalaev would get the decision win, and he did. So now, it'll be interesting to see what comes next for Pereira. In recent months, there was no shortage of talk about Pereira moving up to heavyweight to fight either John Jones or Tom Aspinall. But following this fight, one would think that those matchups have next to no chance of happening. One plausible option would be for an immediate rematch between Ankalaev and Poatan, since Pereira had defended the light heavyweight title 3 times. Also, there's no clear-cut challenger waiting. Dana White also agreed with this in his post-fight press conference, saying the rematch is probably next.
On fight night, but a fight that close with a champion as great as Pereira has been, do you lean towards immediate rematch?
Probably.
Magomed called out Alex for thinking he won the fight, and even roasted him for his performance, saying he ran around. Alex was saying he wasn't sure why the victory was given to me. Listen, I'm happy for a rematch, but maybe in the rematch, he can fight for real, not just run away the entire time. What do you think? Do you want to see the UFC book an immediate rematch between Pereira and the new champion Ankalaev? And do you think Poatan can reclaim the belt? Alex Pereira broke silence on his UFC fight last night, posting this on social media.
É isso aí, pessoal. Algumas marcas. Bom, mas estou bem. Descansar um pouco. Já estou voltando, né? Como eu sempre fiz. Já aconteceu algumas vezes isso comigo, mas, eu estou bem, né? Agradeço todo o apoio de vocês, né? Todo o carinho, sempre me apoiando. Estou recebendo muitas mensagens também de grande incentivo. Estou aqui com o pessoal, minha família, meu time, meus filhos. Tá todo mundo aqui, todo mundo comendo aqui. Aí, ó. Vamos pedir umas pizzas e é isso, né? Vida que segue. Obrigado a todo mundo, né? Obrigado ao meu time. E é isso, pessoal. fazer essa revanche aí e ajustar algumas coisas, né? E pô, voltar muito melhor. Pode esperar isso. Tá bom, pessoal? E é isso. Nunca desista dos seus sonhos. Chama.
Magomed seems down for the rematch because he posted this. It was an honor sharing the cage with you. You are a great champion and your team, your coaches, have a lot of class. Let's run it back anytime you want. Magomed goes off on Jiri Prochazka. Following his UFC 313 win, Magomed did not exactly hold back on X. If you watched our reaction video, Jiri congratulated Magomed and called out Alex Pereira for a fight. Magomed randomly fired back with this. I think you're a fraud and so many guys deserve it more than you. You need to go win some fights. He then continued to go off, writing, this guy is a terrible fighter. Ilia Topuria talks about next UFC fight. Recently, Ilia Topuria buzzed the MMA world big time by alluding to pending and massive news regarding his next fight. But based on comments he made at a recent media event, it looks like there's been some issues booking his next fight. As you likely know, a few weeks ago, it was announced that Topuria vacated the UFC's featherweight title in order to pursue a championship run at lightweight. Since Topuria has repeatedly talked about fighting for the lightweight title, immediately speculation about a fight with Islam Makhachev, the champion, spiked. Then Topuria raised eyebrows by posting fans won't, quote, believe his next fight when it gets announced. So on account of that post, some folks started planning their Makhachev versus Topuria viewing parties. Well, since then, Topuria appeared at a press conference for an MMA card that's taking place in Spain later this month. And while doing so, Topuria relayed the following. I'm going to ask everyone to please not ask me any questions about my sports career, as I'm not going to answer. The name of the victim is still unknown. If I was Renato Moicano or Dan Hooker, it would probably be easier to get a fight, but being Topuria, it's not easy. So these comments don't mean that a bout with Makhachev won't materialize, but you gotta wonder if Islam is pushing back on the UFC's plans to make that fight, assuming, of course, the promotion is working on it. After all, Makhachev has said that he's not interested in fighting Topuria because, in his view, it doesn't do much for his legacy. The lightweight king has already defeated the legendary former featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski twice. So could this mean that we'll see Topuria fight a top lightweight contender next, and not Makhachev for the title? In the meantime, Volkanovski is booked to fight Diego Lopez for the now vacant featherweight crown at UFC 314 April 12th. Topuria was asked to make a prediction for the fight, and recently, the Georgian Spanish star balked at offering one. Predicting the future of our children is complicated. Everyone knows who is in charge in that division. I just left them a toy to have fun with because it's important to them. Who are you picking to become the new featherweight champion at UFC 314? Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili rematch leaked? There's been extensive discussions lately that Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley are going to be running it back, and due to a new video of the bantamweights talking, it's certainly looking like that will be the case. After Dvalishvili ended O'Malley's title reign in September, it wasn't long before Sugar was arguing that he should have been awarded the fight. Then, O'Malley made it clear he wanted a rematch. The problem was, however, that O'Malley had to undergo hip surgery, so Merab was booked to fight Umar Nurmagomedov in January, and he defended the title via a memorable decision win. Well, more recently, a video surfaced of Merab and Sean running into each other and talking about how their rematch will play out.
How are you, Merab? Ready to go baby again? Yes, sir. Yeah, let's go. What are you weighing? 58? 57? Something like that. Yeah. Maybe a little. You been enjoying champ life?
Beginning, no, now I am.
It's 93 more. Oh, actually. The last fight was impressive. You looked good. That was a fun fight to watch.
So when we're gonna fight, I know you hit hard, and then I know you're gonna change plan.
I only had one hip last time. I got both hips now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna use my striking.
No. Yeah, okay.
No, you think no? You think I'm not?
I know. I would say good luck, but no, I hope you have bad luck.
So when you consider what was said in the video and that it wasn't long ago that Dana White acknowledged that there is a lot of interest in this rematch, it certainly looks like it's gonna happen. Who do you think will win? What's also interesting is that it also looks like O'Malley and Dvalishvili are on pretty good terms now in comparison to last year. Not only were they pretty friendly and respectful in that clip, photos are being posted of the two taking a dip in a jacuzzi. Now, of course, it's almost a certainty that as their rematch nears, tensions between the two will ratchet up again. But it doesn't look like the UFC needs to worry about having extra security on hand during fight week. Colby Covington's next UFC fight. Colby Covington's next fight has yet to be officially announced, but it's being reported by one outlet that Chaos will return to the cage during the UFC's International Fight Week this summer. Covington is coming off a TKO loss to Joaquin Buckley in December. The bout was stopped in round 3 due to a large cut the polarizing fighter incurred earlier in the fight? Well, according to Red Corner MMA, sources are reporting that Covington will fight at UFC 317 on June 28th against an opponent yet to be determined. Now, what's interesting about this is that recently Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen have been pushing for Covington and Michael Chiesa to fight. The legends are coaches for the upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter, and Covington is an assistant coach for Chael's team, while Chiesa is an assistant on DC's. During a recent media event to promote Tough 33, Cormier discussed how he and Chael Sonnen are proposing Covington and Chiesa fight. It's an interesting idea, but it doesn't really sound like Covington is overly interested in that matchup. Via his YouTube channel, here was some of what the brash welterweight had to say about Chiesa. I think that's everything you don't want to do when you become the Ultimate Fighter winner. You don't want to become an irrelevant bum who rides people's meats. DC in particular for public transportation. Don't be that guy riding off other people's meats. Become a star. Be your own guy that has to sell himself. Don't have to ride off of other people's jocks like Michael Chiesa. He's a great example of what you don't want to do when you become an Ultimate Fighter champion. He's a great example for the kids on the show that I can tell them, don't be a Michael Chiesa. Be a Colby Covington. Be a Daniel Cormier. Be a Chael Sonnen. Those are how you get paid and make it in this industry. There you have it. Although Covington has dropped 3 of his last fights, it would be kind of surprising if he agreed to fight the unranked Chiesa. Further, if the report about Chaos fighting at UFC 313 is accurate, this would mean that he'll be fighting while Tough 33 is still airing. The 12-episode season is scheduled to premiere late in May. So if the UFC was interested in having Covington and Chiesa fight, you'd think that matchup would be booked for the finale, right after the episodes aired. All that aside, are you interested in seeing Chiesa and Covington throw down? And who do you think would win? UFC fight updates. Let's take a look at a couple of fights that have reportedly been booked for the UFC's upcoming schedule. Recently, Vesnik MMA reported that light heavyweights Modestas Bukauskas and Ian Cutelaba are going to throw down at UFC 315 on May 10th. Bukauskas is coming off back-to-back finishes of Marcin Prachnio and most recently Rafael Cerqueiro, following his stoppage loss to Vitor Petrino in 2023. Bukauskas has gone 4-1 in his last 5. Cutelaba, meanwhile, also has momentum behind him because he's won back-to-back as well. Most recently, he submitted Ibo Aslan, which followed his split decision victory over Ivan Ursulan. Those victories followed the fan favorites decision loss to Felipe Lenz in March of 2024. Cutelaba is 3-2 in his last 5. And AG Fight is reporting that Jamal Emmers and Gabriel Miranda will battle in a featherweight fight at the UFC's March 29th card in Mexico City, El DF. Emmers has not fought since he was taken out by Nate Landwehr in the first round of their March 2024 fight. Prior to that, in November 2023, Emmers quickly put away Dennis Buzukia. Emmers is 2-3 in his last 5. Meanwhile, Miranda is coming off a loss. He was stopped by Morgan Charrier in the second round this past September. Miranda recorded a quick submission win over Shane Young in his fight right before that, which went down in September 2023. Miranda is 3-2 in his last 5. The MMA community goes off on Dana White for pay-per-view buys. The community was furious with UFC and Dana White for the UFC 313 pay-per-view not working. Apparently, after people purchased the pay-per-view, they were unable to view the card with ESPN Plus and were getting error messages while loading the video. Dana White addressed this at the post-fight press conference by saying,
I haven't seen Celeste. I saw a lot of people complaining on X Twitter tonight they couldn't buy the pay-per-view. Did that make it to you? Do you know?
Yeah, it made it to me. Yeah, they were having problems buying it on ESPN Plus. I don't know what happened with their platform tonight, but yeah, there were a lot of pissed off people.
Here's what the MMA community had to say. Frankie Edgar said, so I bought UFC 313 twice now, and I can't get it playing, and it charged my card twice. Always something with this app. Outstanding ESPN Plus and the UFC for allowing no one to watch the pay-per-view that cost you millions to advertise. ESPN, I pay $100 a year for this piece of platform for no reason, and now you won't let me buy this fight? Been trying for 15 minutes with the same message. Scamming clowns. I can't wait until UFC breaks this worthless partnership. Would have liked to have watched, but ESPN would not let us purchase it. UFC lost big money last night. Oh, just classic ESPN Plus and UFC. Spend millions on hype, then make sure no one can actually watch it. Truly groundbreaking strategy. How on earth is the UFC going to keep the pay-per-view going while thousands of people across the country can't purchase the card because ESPN Plus is a joke? Insanity. Some users reported that ESPN started to work halfway through the main card and they were still charging everyone $80. What do you think of the situation? Should the UFC part ways with ESPN after their deal is up at the end of the year?